We welcome you to our Superstar Sports News. These are our main headlines. Ready? Let's go!
The Orioles announced Friday that they've traded outfielder Austin Hays to the Phillies in exchange for right-hander Seranthony Dominguez and outfielder Christian Patch. Baltimore is designating righty Levi Stud for assignment to open a 40-man roster spot, the team announced. The Phillies filled their open roster spot by reinstating right-hander Michael Rucker from the 60-day injured list. It's a rare swap of major leaguers between a pair of World Series hopefuls. Hays will give the Phillies a more impactful right-handed bat in their outfield mix than they had in the glove-first Patch. Hays isn't having his best season but was a 2023 All-Star and has pounded left-handed pitching both in 2024 and throughout his career. Dominguez, similarly, is having a down season but sports a much better track record. He's still a hard-throwing reliever with high-leverage experience and has at times operated as the Phillies' closer. Hays, 29, is hitting .255, .316, .395 this season in 175 plate appearances. He missed nearly a month with a calf strain earlier this season, and it's certainly possible that injury impacted his production. Hays hit just .111, .200, .111 and 50 trips to the plate prior to that IL stint but has returned with an excellent .313, .363, .509 slash in 125 subsequent plate appearances. That slash is perhaps partially attributable to the fact that Hays has been platooned more than in seasons past, thanks to the emergence of lefty-hitting outfielders Colton Cowser and Heston Kjerstad in Baltimore. Between that pair, center fielder Cedric Mullins, right fielder Anthony Santander and first baseman or designated hitters Ryan O'Hearn and Ryan Mountcastle, the O's are dealing from a wealth of corner depth in this swap. Hays has been exclusively a corner outfielder this year and hasn't played center field with any regularity since 2020. Prior to this season's rough start and the emergence of those young top prospects, Hays has been a fixture in the Baltimore outfield. The former third-round pick was a top 100 prospect himself and from 2019-23 tallied 1886 plate appearances with a strong .264, .317, 4-for-1 batting line 109 work plus. Hays doesn't walk much career 5.9% but strikes out at a 21.5% clip that's slightly below league average. He's typically posted average or better grades in left field, though his marks this season are down across the board. Again, however, that's not necessarily a surprise for an outfielder who's battled a lower leg injury that impacted his speed and mobility. Hays will give the Phillies a productive platoon partner to pair with lefty swinging Brandon Marsh in left field. Both Marsh and Hays in a pinch can handle center field as well, though it's likely that defensive standout Johan Rojas will continue to patrol that position regularly barring an additional outfield acquisition from President of Baseball Operations Dave Dombrowski. Hays has bludgeoned lefties at a .388, .394, .500 clip in 70 plate appearances this year and touts a lifetime .272, .328 for 6.3 output against southpaws. The Phillies will be able to control Hays through the 2025 season if they choose, though he'd be an expensive part-time player if they plan to platoon him all season in 2025. He's earning $6.3 this year in his second arbitration season and will be due one final raise this winter, likely to a number north of 8 before qualifying as a free agent in the 2025-26 offseason. Turning to the Orioles' end of the deal, they'll first and foremost add an experienced reliever in the form of the 29-year-old Dominguez. He's been tagged for a 4.75 ERA this year in 36 innings but entered the 2024 campaign with a career 3.31 earned run average, 27 saves and 52 holds. Dominguez has been uncharacteristically homer-prone this year and thus struggled to strand runners, but his velocity 97.5 mph average fastball, strikeout rate 25.5 and walk rate 7.6 all remain strong. This year's walk rate is actually a career low, and Dominguez's 25.5% strikeout rate isn't terribly far off the 27.5% mark he carried into the season. As is often the case with relievers, Dominguez's pedestrian earned run average is skewed by a small number of meltdowns. He's been tagged for 4 earned runs on 2 separate occasions this season, accounting for 42% of his earned runs in those 2 trips to the mound, just 5.2% of his total appearances. That clearly doesn't make the bottom line results any more palatable. but it's preferable to have a reliever who's had a handful of awful outings as opposed to one who's prone to giving up a run or two every other time out. With Craig Kimbrell currently in a rough patch and Danny Colombi on the 60-day injured list, Dominguez could find himself in some leverage situations. Like Hayes, Dominguez can be controlled through the 2025 season, but the choice is at the team's discretion. He's playing out the second season of a 2-year, $7.25 contract that covered his final to arbitration seasons and includes a club option for what would have been his first free agent year. The O's will hold an 8 club option over Dominguez that comes with a $500,000 buyout, effectively rendering it a net 7-5 decision. If he can rebound to his prior form following the swap, that could prove to be a palatable price point even for what's typically been a frugal Orioles club, albeit under their now former ownership. Baltimore will also add Patch to its bench mix. It's an offensive downgrade, as the 25-year-old is hitting only .202, .288, .269 in 118 plate appearances and carries a .179 to .43 to .72 in parts of 5 MLB seasons. That said, Patch is a lights-out defender who's been credited with a dozen defensive runs saved and 16 outs above average in just 1,330 for career innings in the outfield. He's a plus-plus defender in center field, offering the O's a more true fourth outfielder than Hayes did, but he can certainly play strong corner defense as well. Patch is out of minor league options, so he can't be sent to the minors without first being designated for assignment and exposed to waivers. As such, he'll need to stick on Baltimore's roster. For a team that's a near lock to make the postseason, this type of outfielder light hitting, plus defense, good speed is a particularly useful asset. Patch is earning just north of the league minimum this season. Dominguez is being paid $25 million, has the $500,000 buyout on his option. The swap is close to cash neutral, but the Phillies will be taking on about $297,000 in additional payroll. When factoring in their luxury tax status, the trade will cost them about $481,000 overall. As a result of this swap, the 26-year-old stud will be designated for assignment for the third time this season. He's bounced from the Reds, to the Mariners, his original organization, to the Orioles via a series of waiver claims. Studs allowed 11 runs in 10 1/3 innings during last year's MLB debut with Cincinnati. He was one of 4 players the Mariners sent to the Reds in the Luis Castillo blockbuster 2 seasons ago. A former third-round pick, Stud ranked among the top 20 prospects in both the Mariners and Reds systems from 2021-23. He's worked primarily as a starter in the minors, but the O's put him in their double-A bullpen after claiming him. He's posted a 4.26 ERA in 12 2/3 innings in that role, but also walked 12.1% of his opponents, continuing some long-standing command issues. The Orioles can trade Stud until Tuesday's deadline. Failing that, he'll likely be placed on outright waivers.